Hi everyone, and welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this very simple checkered beanie pattern. For this project, I'm going to be using roughly half a skein of size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn, and this is just the Big Twist Value brand and the color is teal. I'm also going to be using a size F or 5 crochet hook. And if you haven't already, then please check out the precursor to this video, and that is my How to Crochet a Beanie Brim, and I will link to that in the description. And for that precursor video, I crocheted a brim that is roughly 10 stitches deep and 16 inches wide. And I went ahead and joined the two edges of the brim together like I show you how to do in that video. So from here, we're just going to turn our brim inside out. And from here, we're going to divide our brim into 4 equal parts using scrap yarn as stitch markers. And once you've divided your brim into 4 equal parts, then we're going to chain 3. Once you have your chain 3 in place, then we're going to start placing double crochets in the available loops along the edge of our brim here. So the reason why we section this off is because we want to try to get 20 double crochets in each of our 4 sections. And the chain 3 stitch will count as your first double crochet. So go ahead and start placing your double crochets, and we're going to try to space these as evenly as we can along the edge of our beanie. And again, the goal is to try to get 20 double crochets in each of the 4 sections so that we have a total of 80 double crochets. And if you're unfamiliar with any of the stitches used in this pattern, then please check the links in the description because I will have my stitch tutorials listed down there for you. So I'm going to go ahead and crochet my 80 double crochets, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the row. And once you get to the end of your row and you have your 80 double crochets, including that chain 3 stitch, then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3. And from here, what we're going to do is we're going to place a front post stitch around our chain 3. So to do that, we are going to be working around this post, not the top of the stitch where we placed our slip stitch, but instead the stem that makes up the stitch. So to do that, we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to insert our crochet hook in between these 2 post stitches right here, all the way to the back, and then we're going to draw up through the other side of that post stitch. So right here. Then we're going to yarn over and drop that post. Yarn over and drop 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop our last 2 loops. And that's how you place a front post stitch. So from here, we're going to place 1 back post stitch in the next 4 stitches. So to do that, yarn over, then insert your crochet hook from the back around the front like this, and then we're going to yarn over and drop the post, yarn over and drop 2 loops, and then yarn over and drop the last 2 loops. And we're just going to repeat that process for our next 3 stitches so that we have a total of 4 back post stitches. And once you have your 4 back post stitches in place, then we're going to place a front post stitch around our 5th. And that's going to be our pattern for the entire row. So we're going to place 1 back post stitch in our next 4 stitches and then a front post stitch in our next stitch. And we're just going to repeat that going all the way around our row. And when we get done, we should have a total of 80 post stitches. And once you're done repeating that last row 3 times, it should look something like this. From here, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our post stitch just like before. And what we're going to do for this row is we're going to place 1 front post stitch in every stitch in the row. So this first stitch is already a front post stitch. And in this stitch that was previously a back post stitch, we're just going to place a front post stitch around it. And then we're just going to continue placing our front post stitches going all the way around our row. And just like all the other rows, when you get to the end of this row, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our first front post stitch. And the pattern from here is just going to be to repeat these last 5 rows again. So we're going to place one back post stitch in our next 4 stitches and then a front post stitch. And we're going to repeat that going all the way around our row and then repeat that row 3 more times. Then we're going to repeat this last row of placing 1 row of front post stitches. And we're just going to keep repeating that section over and over and over again. I went ahead and repeated those rows 3 more times. And make sure that you end on a row of front post stitches, and we're just going to slip stitch into that first front post stitch. From here we're going to place our front post stitch and we're going to begin a decreasing pattern. So for this pattern we're going to place a back post stitch in our first 2 stitches just like before. So from here we're going to crochet these 2 post stitches together. So to do that, yarn over and then insert your crochet hook from the back around the front around your first post. We're going to yarn over and drop that first post. Then we're going to insert our crochet hook around the second post and yarn over and drop the second post. Then we're going to yarn over and drop 3 loops and then yarn over and drop 2 loops. And that's going to be our pattern for the rest of the row. So we're going to place our front post stitch and our first 2 back post stitches just like we've been doing, and then we're going to crochet together our last 2 back post stitches for each of our sections. And when you get to the end of your row, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of that first front post stitch just like before. And the pattern for this row is going to be to place your front post stitch like normal and your first back post stitch like normal. And then you're going to crochet together your second and your third back post stitch. And you're just going to repeat that going all the way around your row. And when you get to the end of your row, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of your first front post stitch just like before. And the pattern for this row is going to be to place your front post stitch just like normal, and then you're going to crochet your 2 back post stitches together. And you're just going to repeat that going all the way around your row. And again, when you get to the end of your row, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of your first front post stitch. And from here, we are just going to simply place our front post stitches. So we'll be skipping that last back post stitch altogether, and we'll just have a row of front post stitches. And you want to try to keep these stitches as tight as you can. And again, when you get back to the end of your row, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of that first front post stitch. And from here, we are just going to single crochet 2 stitches together at a time. So to do that, you're going to insert your crochet hook up underneath that first loop and yarn over and pull through. Then up underneath that second loop and yarn over and pull through. Then we're just going to drop all the loops on our crochet hook. And we're just going to repeat this until the hole at the top of our beanie becomes very, very small. And once the hole at the top of your beanie is very, very small, then you're just going to insert your crochet hook in a stitch on the opposite side of that hole. We're going to yarn over and pull through for a slip stitch, and then we're just going to cut and tie off our yarn. And in the description, I will link to my DIY pom-pom maker. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.